National Court orders appointment as unlawful. Costly legal battles taking a toll on NHC victim. And SP PNG Hunters prepare for big move to Australia.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Friday's news. Starting today, all passengers travelling into Australia will require a negative PCR test result at the time of check-in. This follows announcements from the Australian government as a preventative measure against COVID-19.
This travel requirement comes into effect today and is compulsory for passengers above the age of 5. National flag carrier New Guinea, in a statement released last Saturday, says PCR testing is conducted at the Pacific International Hospital and St. John's at a fee for quick results. Critical information that must be included in the PCR negative test result include the name of the passenger, date when the test was taken, the method used, and the test results. The airline prefers a paper-based record. However, electronic records showing the PCR test results will also be accepted. In the case that if a member of the travelling party tests positive to COVID-19, all members of the party will not be allowed to travel to Australia. The airline announces that it will not be accepting results from other types of tests, such as the GeneXpert tests. New Guinea has advised all passengers travelling to Australia to ensure that the PCR test is conducted within 72 hours before the time of travel and the results made available during the time of check-in. Meanwhile, Papua New Guinea has recorded over 800 cases of COVID-19 since March 2020. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Petitioner in the Kandep Open case, Don Polya, has decreed the lengthy court process. Some of the court rules and lawyers who deliberately ill-advise their clients with knowledge that they will still fail. His election petition at the Court of Disputed Returns started in 2017 and concluded with a decision last month in his favor, but described it as unfair and unjust, with just a year remaining before the next elections. The court had ordered the Electoral Commission to conduct a recount of the Kandep Open votes and given until March 1st to return the results to court for determination.
Don Polya, after losing the elections in 2017, filed a petition at the Court of Disputed Returns. The court took almost 4 years to come up with a decision. And while Polya welcomed this decision, also highlighted areas in the PNG judiciary system where the courts and lawyers should give some thought on it. One of the areas is the delay in the court process that's costing all parties many resources.
Delay has cost me a lot of resources, who had to dig resources out of my pocket from family friends and others, from private income, as compared to the respondents. The electoral commissioner gets his money from the state, and the state gets money from the taxpayers. The MP duly elected or declared by the Electoral Commission as an MP also is paid by the state. And taxpayers pay for the money that the state uses.
He says the challenge is now before the judiciary to seek ways to address the delays that lead to a prolonged court process, consequently costing a lot of money. The delay, he says, is also a thief of justice. Polya has stressed the importance of some of court rules that result in unnecessary delays, describing those rules as draconian. In his petition, the National Court ruled earlier in his favor, but a review by the respondent at the higher court led to the case being reviewed only to get the same result. And he says court rules like Order 5, Rule 17 is an example of a court rule that is unnecessary and should be reviewed.
That means if a one-man Supreme Court judge or a single national court judge has granted an election petition to go before a judicial review, before a Supreme Court, and if a party is aggrieved by the decision of having the leave granted, this rule stops that aggrieved party from seeking a review of that leave decision by a lower court or a single-man Supreme Court judge.
Further to that, Polio also highlighted the actions of lawyers who encourage and facilitate delays on behalf of their clients. He says this is another reason for delays and the incurring of high costs, and while lawyers make money from this, they should be honest with their clients, at the same time assist judges to adjudicate justice and not delay justice.
They cannot raise the hopes of their clients as if they will win a case if they will not. Because delay is just a waste of time and waste of resources unnecessarily. That has a domino effect on the state's resources available to save our people.
Polio says he respects the court decision that ordered for a recount, but said parties involved should follow court orders. This is after the Electoral Commission sought further orders from the court to have the time extended on reasons that the accounts were closed and that they were not able to implement the orders. The new schedule as ordered by the court will see the recount concluded by February 26th and results returned to court by March 1st for deliberation. Ruth Rungula, National EMTV News.
Though the courts are still in the vacation period, the Waigani National Court has handed down its ruling on the appointment of David Manning as Commissioner and Secretary for Police. The Waigani National Court today ordered that the appointment of David Manning as Commissioner and Secretary for Police be nullified. Manning remains as Police Commissioner until midday of 29th January 2021. This comes after judicial review application filed by the other two candidates who were shortlisted for the position of the Commissioner. Manning is expected to meet with his lawyers and announce later if he will take further legal actions. In the meantime, Manning has accepted the decision of the National Court.
Again, reassure the country that despite of the decision of this afternoon, on the judicial review challenging my appointment, that the constabulary still remains intact. We have the whole senior command of the constabulary here, the police force here. We've just gone through a brief with our legal team, those who represented us in today's proceedings. And let me just say that I respect the decision of the courts. However, there is some, we'll be seeking advice as to whether there'll be grounds of appeal.
All schools in the country have been warned by the Education Minister not to send students home because of school fee reasons. Jimmy Uguro says the first quarter payments of 122 million kina had already been paid before the academic year begins. The component also covers food. The Education Minister made the warning shortly after arriving in Medang this morning.
I'm Desla. I challenge for me, Eagle or Papa Mama, all school Maggie. Give me education and shared responsibility. Minimum, you Papa, you saw the calendar school. In no time of school, you go on classroom, na force him headmaster or enroll him you, even you know got school fee or whatever. You must prepare. You saw 7 time long school now. You don't wait until the school starts. Lazy way of doing business. Okay. You must ready before the school starts. No can you go fight on the headmaster and force him to enroll in beginning. You must have it, not ready past time. Okay, yeah. And what kind of before the rainy comes, you must get a house.
Teachers in the country have raised concerns over the Teaching Service Commission's plans to have university graduates to teach in schools in the country. Their concern comes after TSC Chairman Samson Wangihomie made this announcement through one of the dailies last week. He said due to the shortage of teachers in the country, university graduates without teaching qualifications can teach in schools under the condition that they secure a teaching position in a school. However, in a recent media conference, a teacher says this is not a good idea.
And that is really very bad. Some of us in our primary schools, we have the aspiration to be a teacher, and that's where we are. Although we got straight A's in our grade 12 paper, we still decided to become a teacher. And some of those people, if you tell an engineer to come and do a teaching job from Norway, does he possess the skills to teach in the classroom? Does he have the interest to teach in the classroom? What if he is in the classroom, engaged in a teaching position, while he is teaching and at the same time he is applying for a job? And let's say on September or on a very crucial time when the grade 12 will be sitting for an exam and this guy has to be interviewed in a company. What do you think this person will be like? Will he continue to teach the student or is going to look for a job? And then we are losing PNG. The education system is going down.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more of the day's stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Settlers at Medang's Nagada settlement, where an eviction exercise is currently underway, say they have been living there for more than 20 years and don't have anywhere else to go. A long-time settler, Paul Thomas, says they can't return to their home provinces. Thomas said they regard Medang as home and they won't be welcomed by their relatives in their own provinces, making it difficult for them.
This group of settlers are part of at least 3,000 illegal settlers who have been evicted from portions 69, 70 and 78 owned by ELC PNG at Nagada. Most of these settlers say they have lived here for over 2 decades until yesterday, when they were forced to remove their houses, pack up and move out.
So block number they must mi bla buy mi bla staff or some ground lawyer so mi bla sa wood lawyer mi bla ka some citizen lawyer na mi bla staff. But now I'm Kapman Rausim, so mi plan no have logo now. I think mi plan panish am rent house or place mi plan go logo long time yet mi plan lusim na kam logo so mi plan buy mat.
A long-time settler, Maria Patrick, is concerned over her children and grandchildren's education as the academic year draws near. Mrs. Patrick is not sure where to enroll her children and grandkids to attend school.
I want to my ball school and me Paul na Mr. Mi bago putim no one ma ben mi faul mi bago lo place pro mina mi bago putim o mi bago lo place pro mana putim o disla mi faul.
Another settler says most of them come to urban settings looking for better government services like education and health, which are not accessible in the rural areas.
Mi plan need future beginning na mi plan lusi place na mi plan. Mi plan lusi place na kamino lo gonem the future beginning lo. Tomorrow, one kind of sample man come up.
While another settler says he cannot return to his own province in West Sepik as he won't be accepted and welcomed by his relatives back home.
Kapan bay, kapan raw si mi plan na pa lego na mi plan. Pari setter mi plan. Para si mi plan na raw si mi wasi pikto ko. Sa mi plan tingting na mi raw si kaba andap so mi no. Raw si mo kata mi tingting mi raw si mo kata na mi pasarim. Meri begini koro we na kahaplo koro na setter. Mira ko pete na sisia ko po disi sabo mora na paro ni mi. Mi stabo se no. How mi ko na. Mi stabio de ya o kamang igin pati mi na mi ko mi ko na.
The eviction exercise organized by the ELC PNG started yesterday when police went into the area destroying makeshift houses and other properties. This piece of land in portion 69 was the first area cleared out by the bulldozer. Settlers have voluntarily burned down temporary makeshifts and have started moving. The exercise will continue for the next 15 days of the operation. Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medang.
Fighting the legal battle for his home has been costly for Levi Kurakipa, a tenant of National Housing Corporation in Lae. Levi says not only has his family spent a lot of money on legal costs, the whole ordeal has also taken a toll on his health. While they now live on a block after being evicted, he hopes to pursue the case, but this will need money.
Levi Kurakipa is a public servant who has been in a court battle over the National Housing Corporation property he was renting in Lae. He now lives here with his family after being evicted from the property. The legal battle has been costly for the family and the strain on his health immense. The fight to occupy and buy the National Housing Corporation property he was renting has been ongoing since 2014. Last year he fell ill. Concerned about his health, his wife and children advised him to withdraw from the legal fight. Levi became emotional when we spoke to him this week, saying the treatment has been unfair.
Me respect him decision blood na. Me just give in. And then all health issue.
Levi and another public servant, Amos Tarali, both rented units in this NHC duplex. After more than 10 years living here, they expressed their interest to buy it. Section 38 of the NHC Act states that the NHC may offer the tenants the option to purchase the property after the tenancy agreement has been in force for 2 years. This did not happen. In 2018, they found out that the NHC had sold the property to another buyer. They were forcefully evicted by men armed with knives, their belongings thrown out, and the trees in the yard cut down.
Only got him money, me just a simple layman, me stop that solo pot net, he got him school fee loan, now can go can all net blow me blind and nablo. Buy him all legal fish.
Levi Kurakipa and Amos Tarali are just two out of many other families who are being affected by National Housing Corporation evictions in Lae. While Levi is still recovering, both him and Amos hope to pursue the case. However, this will need money. Money the families don't have. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
Landowners of the Wafi Gopu mine area gathered today in Lae to participate in a consultative meeting on the review of MPG's position paper. The review is conducted in consultation between stakeholders including the provincial government, administration and LLG officers of the mine impact areas. The original position paper of Morbe provincial government was completed in 2019. However, it doesn't include benefits and business opportunities for the landowners and the provincial government to participate in. The views raised from the stakeholders will be consolidated into the original position paper before being handed to the national government. A clan in the Hides PDL1 area in the Hela province wants the government to incorporate their land as a lease for mining purpose before the Porgera mine reopens. The Pina clan of the Hiwa tribe in Hides say they are the customary landowners of the land on which the Hides gas to electricity plant sits. This power plant supplies power to the Porgera gold mine in Enga province.
Speaking on behalf of the clan, Thomas Tandape said their fathers were informed that the land on which the gas to electricity plant will sit on was within the PDL1 licensed area, and generations after that were led to believe this until recently, when they discovered their land was not in the PDL1 licensed area, and the Lands Department confirmed this by issuing the clan an alienation certificate.
30 years, nothing get anything out of Pina clan to power plant. So now this la area and blow, Pina yet on him. Before you reopen Porgera mine, okay, you come to Pina clan, now you may buy the house.
The Pina clan say they have missed out on benefits over the last 30 years since this sale agreement came into place, and say with the closure of Porgera mine now, they're calling on the government to grant them the lease for mining purpose and recognize them under this lease when a new developer takes over the mine.
our little people at heights want to benefit, not to miss as before. So when you come up with this new agreement, we want to be part and parcel of it, and our people want to benefit. In the last 30 years, we have been missing.
The group, through the Pina Clan Customary Landowners Association, have attempted to get the developers of Porgera Gold Mine and Oil Search to rectify inconsistencies in overlooking their ownership rights, but have failed each time they tried. And they say with the government now seriously considering more benefits for landowners in resource projects around the country, they want the government to recognize them.
So we want this honorable government to come down. Whoever brought these developers out onto our land must come down and let them explain.
They also called on the Petroleum Minister, Karen Gakua, to honor a ministerial commitment of 40 million kina made by William Duma back in 2009 when he was the Petroleum and Energy Minister. They have threatened to shut the power plants if the government fails to include them as a LMP and to honor its ministerial commitments.
Me sa action nothing law. Me no got one evidence like me sa passing wire. Now me get bloody evidence. You had to look up.
Ruth Rungula, National EMTV News.
City Pharmacy Limited will be conducting a free deworm treatment for children on the 27th of this month. This is a nationwide program at all City Pharmacy Limited outlets. The program targets children between the ages of 2 and 12 years old. CPL's Nursing Service Manager Sandra Cunningham said children coming out of school holidays will be better prepared to attend school without unnecessary sick days, most commonly from gastric or intestinal worms. Adults are also encouraged to take the deworming treatment once a year. And now looking at the NASFund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3534 Australian dollars, $0.2209 euro and 28.06 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee, cocoa and copper closed lower. Palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 257.86 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 53.29 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 56.09 points higher. And Chukai Sports is next. I'll be back with the details after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. A small group of sponsors, Hunters team management, media and other stakeholders were present to bid the PNG Hunters farewell last night. The Hunters are leaving on the 31st of this month and will be based in Gold Coast, Queensland.
The main part of our program,
9 more sleeps before the PNG Hunters depart for their new home in the Gold Coast on the 31st of this month. It was a fairly small group that gathered yesterday for the team's launch and coincidentally their farewell to Australia. The Hunters have been registered as an entity in Australia, and Hunters Independent Director Edward Icey, on behalf of the Hunters chairman Stan Joyce, said they will be managing the team separate from PNG RFL in Australia.
In line with best practices, the Queensland Rugby League specified that this venture should be run by an independent board of directors. And due to the fact that much of our operation this year will be held in Australia due to the COVID-19 restrictions, we also needed to set up a board and company in that country. I would like to thank my fellow board directors. He mentions me, Frank Boraga, Ruth Warham, who's not able to be here this evening with us, and Moses Williams from the naming rights sponsor, SP Brewery, for agreeing to join the board. Each of the directors also sits on the Australian-based board with the addition of Jeremy Edwards, who is the Southern Hemisphere General Manager of International Rugby League.
The team's naming rights sponsor, SP Brewery, is optimistic of the team's performance in this year's competition, putting faith behind Hunters coach Matthew Church.
And despite a cancelled season in 2020, we, SP Brewery, are confident that with coach Matthew Church at the helm, 2021 will be a strong season for the Hunters, for the team, and for Papua New Guinea. Coach Church has a wealth of experience, and we have seen his commitment to strive for excellence this season, both on and off the field.
Platinum sponsor Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited, through Managing Director Wapu Song, encouraged the team to do their best in this year's season.
You know, on behalf of Kumul Petroleum, we wish you all the best. We want you to play rugby league in its true spirit and represent the country, as you will be based in Australia.
Minister for Sports Wesley Raminai encouraged the team to abide by the rules when in Australia and uphold the name of Papua New Guinea.
Rules that your team management puts in place are meant to be observed and followed. Otherwise, they would not waste time putting everything together. I want to stress that we will be following your progress with great interest here back in PNG via the various communications mediums. And we want to be hearing good, positive stories. Not only about winning, but good, positive stories.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
The PNG Hunters will have opportunities for work and school in Queensland, Australia, something that is sure exciting for the club. The issue of player welfare and life after rugby league has been with the Hunters for a while, but with coach Matthew Church on board, he has made it a priority.
Life after rugby league is what most young men contemplate, what to fall back on when pursuing a professional career in the sport. For the Hunters, that has always been the case. Many have come through the team, and not many have settled down well after their exit from the team. The Hunters for this season have put player welfare as a priority, and when in Australia, we'll have opportunities for study and work.
We have a visa that we can get now. There is a 408 for 2 years. They can do part-time work, they can do part-time school, something that we've never got before.
Matthew Church, Hunters coach, said they have welcomed on board a well-being and education officer, Nelly Pabalau. Church adding that this is a step forward in having players having a career after their rugby league career ends.
The first week of our new well-being and education officer, Nelly, welcome aboard. I think that's a vital step for the Hunters and something that probably has been overlooked in the previous years, about providing that support for our players, but also providing an education or a work placement pathway. I've been fairly strong on that since I took the role. We have a short career, whether you're the head coach or a player.
Hunters Premiership winning captain Ase Boas said he had witnessed players leave the club without much to fall back on, and player welfare was something he discussed strongly with coach Matthew Church.
And I've been here, I've seen a lot of boys coming through the system and going. But one thing, really, strike me is Coach Matt coming on board last year, and we were talking about the welfare. This is what my heart is with the Hunters boys. A lot of boys coming through the system, and now they're back at home doing nothing. There's nothing to fall back on, and this is one thing that really saddened me. They were one time a name like, I've given an example of Adex Wera or Esau Sune. They are the pioneers of this beautiful team of ours, but where are they now?
Judah Rimbu, one of the latest recruits in the team, withdrew from his secondary school studies last year and decided to play on with the Hunters this year. The young 5'8" says he is willing to take up any education opportunities when the team relocates to the Gold Coast.
Most definitely, I value my education. I'm just 19, and I'll be definitely looking for ways. If down there, if they give me opportunity for education, and then I will definitely take a look at the education. Thank you.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
PNG Hunters coach Matthew Church is hoping to organise a couple of trial matches for the team against other intra-Super Cup teams as the Hunters hope to shake off the rust and work on potential combinations.
Following the previous couple of months of intense training and tactical development, PNG Hunters coach Matthew Church would ideally like to put the team in real game scenarios with a couple of trial matches against other intra-Super Cup teams. With 11 new recruits in the 29-man Hunter squad, the invaluable feedback and experience gained by playing trial matches will give the Hunters coaching staff a better idea of what improvements need to be made, either to game tactics or player fitness.
When we get down there, I thought we had a game against the Pride lined up, but there's a clash in the schedule. So we do have one against Ipswich on the 6th of March, but I'll be looking to potentially have one the weekend before on the 27th of February. In and around that date, so that's yet to be organised. I'm a kind of coach that likes to go with experience first, and then look at getting guys into game situations. So we, as I said, those younger halves that we've got there, and Solomon and Judah, have been impressive. So if they keep putting the runs on the board, and someone that's more experienced doesn't show the intent to be there, then they'll certainly have their position taken. And that doesn't just go for our halves; it goes from anyone in our complete squad. Is that if you're not on target, we've got some young guys, and I've picked young guys because I know that they'd be excited to be in camp and willing to have a crack, but also knowing that they're the ones that'll probably push on to NRL or Super League clubs. And
Huxley Lovai, Chukai Sports.
Chukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. The Oceania Football Confederation Under-17 and Under-20 Championship tournaments have been postponed but remain on track to take place this year.
The Under-17 and Under-20 youth tournaments have been postponed, and the Oceania Football Confederation is yet to announce confirmed dates but gives assurance of a set date in the coming months. The events were delayed due to travel restrictions caused by the coronavirus pandemic. All OFC tournaments have been on hold since March of 2020 due to the global pandemic and ongoing border restrictions throughout the Pacific. The OFC's tournaments are a key element of its long-term strategy to qualify 2 teams for the FIFA World Cup 2026. OFC's executive committee has agreed to try and exhaust all possible options to play them in 2021. General Secretary Frank Castillo said it was vital to give the youth footballers of our region the opportunity to play in these events. Castillo said the players who take part in these tournaments could potentially progress to represent their senior national teams, and OFC wants to ensure these youths have as many chances as possible to play in meaningful competitive matches at youth level. Castillo thanked the executive committee for their vision and patience regarding these tournaments and hopes these events can be held safely at the appropriate times. Meantime, the OFC Under-16 and OFC Under-19 Women's Championships events also remain on track to be held later this year. The postponed youth tournaments will serve as qualifiers for the FIFA Under-17 and Under-20 Women's World Cup editions set for 2022. Kilawani, Chukai Sports.
And that story wraps up Chukai Sports. I'll be back with a weather report for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the New Guinea Islands region. Mostly fine weather in Lorengau, Kokopora, Bao, Kavieng and Kimbe, and mostly fine, though partly cloudy in Buka.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Friday, the 22nd of January 2021. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Have a safe weekend. Bye for now.